All right, and we are live. So, the US presidential election is over. And it appears that we do have a winner. So, Trump wins, and markets are surging. I mean, the Dow is up 1,300 points. Bitcoin explodes to an all time high. The small caps, Russell, Skyrockets, Tesla up 13%. However, the China ETF going down, and so are solar stocks. So, there's a lot to unpack today after the elections. How do markets react? And with that said, welcome to Coffee with Markus and Morgan. Today is Wednesday, November 6th, the day after the election. And in this show, we are going to talk to you about what's happening in the markets and how we are trading it. And Mark, look at that. I mean, markets are just jumping higher. The Dow up almost 1,300 points.
Yeah, fireworks for the markets. The Dow making record highs, the S&P making record highs, the Nasdaq making record highs. Small caps, the Russell 2000 is up 4% and almost getting back to highs that we saw in 2021. Just everything. Bitcoin making record highs. So it's just a wild day for the markets.
It sure is. It sure is. So the question is this all attributed to Trump being the next president, the 47th president of the United States, Mark?
Well, partially, because you could definitely argue that his policies favor most businesses with potential tax cuts and just growth oriented policies. Now, it could be that inflation sticks around a little bit more, and we know that green energy and even some oil and gas at some point might an issue with flooding supply because crude oil's down. But then also, it's the decisiveness, like an indecisive election result, which would go on for weeks or months, and challenges and lawsuits, and Trump saying that he won if the numbers didn't show that he actually won. That would have been absolutely horrible for the United States and the economy, but he clearly won.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
And this where again,
No
yes,
contest.
some sectors are benefiting. And I mean, if you look at this, I mean, this morning, banks are skyrocketing.
Yeah,
JPMorgan up 10%, Wells Fargo up 13%, Bank of America up 0.7.5%. Credit card companies also, Visa up, MasterCard up. But let's actually zoom into the financial services. We also have Discover. Let's actually go into credit card services because this is where we see Capital One Finance and Discover, as well as what is SYF Synchrony Financial, right? I mean,
yeah,
they're up
yes,
12, 16%. I mean, this kind of crazy. But yeah, then also, and this is why I wanted to bring up the VIX, the uncertainty is out of it because
yeah,
we talked about it yesterday. Going into this election, it appeared that it was neck to neck and that we might not have results today, that it could have gone on for weeks or months, or days or weeks, I should say. And here, I mean, just, okay, now we know. And so the fear is out of the market, the uncertainty is out of the market, and markets are trading at all time highs right now. And we kind of
yeah,
see, I mean, we talked about it with our mastermind members this morning that markets seem to start celebrating last night a little bit early, right? I mean, this is where you see last night Bitcoin started rallying as soon as the results are coming in. Bitcoin rallied 8% to new all-time highs. Now, honestly, when I went to bed, which was around this time, everything seemed to be still wide open. I mean, this is where some of the swing states haven't reported yet. The only one that had reported was North Carolina. So I thought this was an early celebration that the market anticipated. But what do you know? I mean, this is why we have our mugs that say, trade what you see, not what you think. And what we are seeing right now is that markets like what they see. And this is why there are just fireworks across the markets.
Yeah, the uncertainty being relieved, it was so important. And then there's also the Republicans taking over the Senate and potentially the House. The House is still up in the air, but when you have a party that takes over on the presidential side, but then you also have it supporting the Senate, or both the Senate and the House, that means that policy can actually be enacted. So I mean that investors are uh, are happy with based on policy. So
Yeah.
wild day for the markets.
And we have to talk about Tesla. I mean, Tesla definitely skyrocketing here. Oops, I went accidentally to HD. So Tesla up this morning, 13%, even though clean energy is not on Trump's priority list.
This move gets a little bit interesting because you're right, Marcus. It's highly likely that Trump will roll back a lot of the credits and initiatives to actually encourage clean energy and vehicles being purchased that are electric vehicles versus combustion engines. But with Elon Musk supporting Trump and potentially having a role in the administration, Trump definitely happy with Elon, and Tesla traders think that Elon and Tesla is going to benefit from that for sure.
Well, we also know if you look at the China ETF, what is it again? XFI? No, FXI. There we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
so the China ETF today down 2.6% because, as we know, in his first presidency, Trump declared war on China. Now, how does this relate to Musk? Well, I mean, Tesla has faced a lot of competition from Chinese EV makers, and now with possibly more sanctions, more tariffs on imports of China, Tesla would definitely benefit from this. So this is why we see the China ETF down 2.6% and Tesla just skyrocketing. I mean, this is where, I mean, whatever happened, Tesla could only win, right? I mean, if Harris had won, then the push for green energy, Tesla would have won. And here with Trump, Tesla up. So, I mean, for Tesla, we should have seen it coming. We should have played this.
In hindsight, it was a win-win for sure. Now, speaking of tariffs, you have to look at the 10-year yield
The 10-year
because
yield, look at this. I mean, right now approaching 4.5%. So the yield climbing higher. Why is
this
that,
is
Mark?
where, well, you typically don't see yields higher by so much, but then also the market's higher. And on this day, you see both rallying. And this shows that with, again, Trump's policy, it could be a little more favorable for businesses and growth with tax cuts and all of that. But it also is highly likely that prices will be higher and that inflation is going to be a little sticky because of these tariffs, because of the higher prices that get passed down to consumers, and that's where that yields are traders are basically saying, yeah, we expect higher longer, which is going to be interesting come tomorrow with the Fed and what they have to say about all of this.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And Powell has to address this. So on the economic calendar tomorrow, we do have the Fed meeting concluding with an announcement for the Fed funds rate. We'll take a look at this in a moment. Right now, it is widely expected that the Fed will drop rates by 0.25%, but then there's the statement and the press conference. And I mean,
Yeah.
Powell will be asked how he sees this outcome of the election, what he expects, how this will impact the economy, how this will impact inflation. And yeah, this is where let's see what traders are thinking right now. And I mean, if you look at the the Fed Watch tool, yes, I mean, 97.3% probability that the Fed will lower rates. But where do we go from there? That is the big question. And this is where we look a little bit ahead here. And traders are still favoring another cut in September, but not with the same certainty that we had a few days ago.
In September?
December.
Okay, just checking.
All right. Thanks for
Just
keeping me in check.
checking.
Yes, in December.
Yeah, and I mean this gets interesting because right now I mean, investors clearly are saying, okay, we expect that yields, prices will get a little sticky and be a little bit higher, but it doesn't matter. The growth is offsetting that. So investors are definitely shaking it off. But from a policy perspective, it will be interesting to see what the Fed does.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a look at our positions. So, let's talk about WTF. First of all, we did have an exit this morning. GE Aerospace giving us an exit, and this worked out beautifully. I mean, we were able to exit this with a nice profit. Originally, we had our entry signal at 179.70, but then we bought some more on a 5% drop, and this is how we were able to bring down our cost basis to, I believe it was a 175.50 or 175. This morning, we were able to exit at 181.50. So nice profits here on this GE trade. The 5% add has definitely helped.
It worked out perfectly, and even if you didn't do the 5% add, it was still a win. So that was great. If you got in originally and you didn't add to it with the gap higher, great trade. But the 5% add was picture perfect. On October 31st, it got down to 170.43, and we were picking up shares at 170.72. And after that day, it didn't get back down to that level again. It doesn't get better than this with the ad.
We will use this as an example to explain how a 5% ad works. So
Yep.
let's take a note of this. No new trades, but we still have a bunch of open trades. And first up here is Apple. Apple this morning making a move, not really just celebrating with the overall market, because as we all know, Apple has a huge production going on in China. So now the question is, how will possible Trump tariffs, possible war with China, trade war with China impact Apple? And this is why still up, still celebrating, but only 0.4%. But hey, works for us. We entered at 220.99. Right now trading at 224. I'll take this one.
Yes, I'm with you.
AMT, I'll let you talk about this because initially we skipped this trade because, I mean, it happened on a day where I decided to skip it. We both decided to skip it, but then you decided to trade it today.
I did, and this is where it had dropped significantly, and I picked up shares 6% below the entry signal at 200. It's dropped a little bit more, but this one, we'll see where it ends up.
All right. So then CEG, we both decided to skip it. CL, Colgate Palmolive, look at this today. Down 3%. That is for me a surprising move.
Yeah, especially from where it opened. So sliding that much after the higher open is interesting. I didn't expect that.
Yeah. So down 3%, and we'll see what happens here. Duke Energy also down today, just with all of the excitement that we have going on in all other sectors. The energy sector, which is kind of the flight to safety, right? I mean, today, definitely getting hit here a little bit. So this is where we see utilities and energies right here today. One of the red spots, the other one is consumer defensives. Both are more conservative plays. And right now, I mean, tech trades are back, and then also the excitement in the financial sector. So I'm not too surprised about this one here right now, that we are trading a little bit lower in Duke Energy. Exelon we skipped, and then we have Coca-Cola here, and also Coca-Cola today taking a hit, and we picked up some more shares here on a 5% drop.
Yep, getting shares at 63.72, and we'll see if we can rally off of these lows.
Right. Then, on the other hand, we have MetLife, the financials rallying today. Look at this, up 6%. So we entered at 78 right now, trading at 83. So approximately $5 higher. And I mean, I'm pretty sure that this will be an exit tomorrow.
Yeah, great move, and going to be a nice one. It looks like.
Yeah. PG, again, consumer defensives today. PG down also 2.5%. I mean, it's just a rotation going on here. This is where I see. Are we with PG already at a 5% drop? No, PG is only down 2.3%. Okay,
Yeah.
so nothing for us to do on this one. And then on the other hand, RTX again, I mean, up 1.8%. That is industrials, so not really a tech play, but celebrating
Defense.
overall with the market and nicely up today.
Yep.
All right. Now, with that said, let's move over to the wheel. And yes, we know that CSIQ would get hit if Trump got elected. You just talked about it, the green energies. We've been talking about this for a while, that we expect an initial hit, which is happening right now, down 18%. And then we expect that the dust settles over the next few days. And hopefully moving back up towards 1650, where we were just yesterday. I mean, I like to see the move higher. This is nothing unexpected. We have been talking about it. Mark, are you concerned here?
I mean, it's not what I would like to see with the stock, but it also is absolutely in line with what I expected. I expected a Harris win would boost the stock, a Trump win would we would see something like this. But I do believe that it's that initial overreaction, and when the dust settles, it's going to be fine. One thing that CSIQ does have going for itself is that 70% of their sales are outside of the U.S. So even if there's some concerns about what might happen with tariffs and green energy in the U.S., they're doing a lot outside of the U.S. So not ideal. All solar stocks are down today for the obvious reasons, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. AGL, Halliburton, a winner today because they are providing oil and gas equipment and services. And this basically is another Trump trade. I mean, a bet that Trump will loosen regulations for offshore drilling, for drilling in the US, and just to boost oil production in the US. And therefore, Halliburton this morning up 6.3%. Nicely up here, moving towards my break even and nothing yet to do. Now, BP, on the other hand, kind of similar yet different. So BP slightly down today, 0.5% down, Mark.
Yeah, and I mean, this British Petroleum, right? And it looks like the U.S. based oil plays are doing a little bit better on the Trump trade, but hey, it is what it is.
Not necessarily, right? I mean, yeah, we see, okay, overall oil and gas up. I thought that earlier it was down because, I mean, right now it is expected that there's more oil and gas, especially oil being produced. So this is why I thought that crude oil, I saw it down a little bit earlier. Well, it's
It
slightly up
was
right now.
down. It reversed off of those lows. It was down. It was down almost 3% at one point. Now positive for the day.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Next up, Coles, KSS, and Coles today. I mean, at first opened massively higher. I mean, gapped higher at 19, right now pulling back. I don't know based on what. I mean, this is not explainable through a Trump victory why Coles would be pulling back here. In fact, I would expect it to rally, but we did open higher at 19, pulling back right now, down 3% for the day. Same as Merck. Merck also gapped higher this morning, pulling back a little bit right now, and right now trading at 101. 78, nothing for us to do. And then we have UPS, and the UPS, I mean, in all of these plays, very, very similar. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, and I mean, it was off to a great start today. Interesting. It's still kind of holding up there at 133, but some interesting reversals for some of these stocks, Marcus.
It is. And I mean, we'll see how it all shakes out. I mean, this is day one. We talked about it yesterday. What is typically happening after a presidential election, right? And this is where we said, typically, on average, we see that the markets are typically going down in the first day and in the first week, but then that they start rallying. So here, kind of different. Today, the markets are rallying, and we see typically if they do the day after, as they did here in the 80s, as they did in 2020, as they did here, that if they are up after a day or after a week, that we see this continuation into the
Yeah.
month after. So we should see a continuing rally from now on if we look at history and we believe that history repeats itself. Well, does history repeat itself? But markets do have a memory. And I mean, this is where we are not the only ones looking at these statistics. There's tons and thousands and 10,000 and maybe millions of other investors looking at it and say, oh my gosh, if we have a great day after the election like this, we'll probably have a great week, a great month, and we will finish the year strong. So this is why there's definitely some buying enthusiasm right now coming into the markets.
Yep, that holds true more often than not.
Yeah. All right, let's see where the markets stand here. Let's take a look at the S&P and the 5-minute chart and see if the markets can hang on to this excitement here. But before we do this, let's lighten it up a little bit with one of our dad jokes. And we'll let you vote who is telling the better dad joke.
So, Marcus, why do birds fly south for the winter?
I don't know.
Because it's obviously quicker than walking.
Okay. All right. So, question for you: how do you get 4 elephants in a mini? Well, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. I mean, quite easy. It's a 4-seater, right? Now, the other question is, how do you know that there's 8 elephants in a church?
How?
Well, 2 minis parked up front. Yes.
Yeah,
No.
Marcus.
Come on, give it to me.
You need to work on that.
All right.
You need to work on those.
Okay. So the market's working hard here, clinging on to these highs that they're making right now with the S&P 500, still trading at session highs, making new all-time highs. So is the Dow. The Dow is still up 1,268 points, up 3%, clinging on to session highs here. So is the Nasdaq, and so is the IWM, the Russell. So all 3 indices gapped massively higher and clinging on. What do you expect, Mark? Will we see a little bit of a sell-off, or will just the excitement continue for the remainder of the day?
I think sell off is a strong word, right? Or
Right.
phrase. I don't think we're going to get a sell off, but I do think that we'll pull back a little bit rather than just gap and run, right? I think we could pull back just a little bit, overhyped on this move, and then people might be taking a little bit of profit. So I think we'll pull back a tiny bit, but sell off, no.
Yeah, I agree. Probably pulling back a little bit, but the excitement is definitely there. And then, of course, tomorrow we have the Fed meeting. So, I mean, back to back main events here. And you want to make sure that you are there when it happens. So make sure that you tune in tomorrow morning, hit subscribe, hit the little notification bell. If you enjoyed today's video, give us a like. Really appreciate all of your likes. And if you feel that this was great information worth sharing, there's a share button somewhere here on the page. Please share this video with others. Really appreciate that. And with that said, buckle up, and then we'll see you again tomorrow.
Happy trading, everybody.